Hello, ladies and gents. Those who bounce in between, Comrade Dankey here. I have been recovering from an intense but very brief coma. I had simply encountered too much logic. I encountered too much facts, and those facts didn't care at all about my feelings. They did not consent to my feelings. Those facts just went right into my brain and blew my little mind. It was too much logic, ladies and gentlemen. Logic from none other than the guy, uh, the man, the legend, Ben Shapiro. So Ben Shapiro is just a great guy. He's a columnist for the Daily Wire. He is an Islamophobe who inspired the Quebec City mosque shooter, who says people who knew him said he had far-right white nationalist and anti-Muslim views. The manager of a refugee support Facebook page said Bissonnette frequently denigrated refugees and feminists online. I wonder who else does that. A member of the mosque said that he had met and talked with him outside the mosque on January 26th, believing he was interested in Islam, but he veered away from the subject. Bissonnette checked in on the Twitter account of Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the conservative news site Daily Wire, 93 times in the month leading up to the shooting. But Ben Shapiro had nothing to do with it at all. Had nothing to do. Facts don't care about your feelings, you little snowflake. I had nothing to do with that Quebec mosque shooting. That's just simply, the PC outrage machine. I don't care that that kid checked my tweets 93 times. So, let's see what kind of shit, old Benny boy, tweets out. He tweets out shit like this. He says, Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage. This is not a difficult issue. Hashtag settlements rock. Alright, this was posted on September 27th, 2010. This tweet has aged like a poorly sealed, uncorked, festering, putrid wine, ladies and gentlemen. What a piece of shit. And so I like what Virgil Texas said. He said, have you ever touched a boob? And Robert Dublina says, only with the help of a stepladder. So yes, I like those. Open sewage, someone posts a picture of this. This is what Arab people are capable of building when they're not, being brutally oppressed. Maybe if the U.S. didn't spend $100 billion a year to destroy their infrastructure. Actually, I think it was. I forgot what the actual numbers were. I'll have to go back to the video I made on it to watch. But we do spend a metric butt ton. It was on the video where David Pacman threw Alexandria Cortez under the bus. Who, he and Ben Shapiro can share that in common. They both threw Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Cortez under the bus. I think I meant to say Ilhan Omar earlier, but yeah. David Pacman threw Ilhan Omar under the bus, and that's something that he and Ben Shapiro have in common. So, with that little introduction to Ben Shapiro, it's time to shit on the second person I hate in this episode, Bill Maher. I have long despised Bill Maher. I have found him to be insufferable. I have found him to be just a smug, insufferable, just self-righteous, smarmy cocksure, just a real piece of shit. Of course, let's all not forget he dropped the N-bomb saying he's a house, N-word, and then, trying to cover up for that. He shits on millennials all the fucking time. He shat all over AOC. And here he is welcoming fucking Ben Shapiro to his fucking HBO featured show.
editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire and host of the nationally syndicated Westwood One radio show and podcast, The Ben Shapiro Show.
You know we live in a hell world when fucking Ben Shapiro gets to be on national TV as much as he does.
Shapiro.
Jesus Christ.
Ben, great to finally meet you.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. I always say this to conservatives who come on our show. I'm a little jealous of their guts because they have more guts than the liberals. Liberals don't go on conservative shows. They don't even come on this show sometimes. So I appreciate it because you know the crowd is not with you.
Oh yeah, because Bill Maher's real far left, you guys. He's a real rebel.
I got that impression, yeah.
And
Yeah, I got that impression.
and let's be civil, right? That's the tone of the day.
I'm a fan.
Okay.
I'm a fan.
Well,
I'm a fan of being civil while I say that Arabs live in open sewage and like to bomb buildings. Hey, I'm so civil. Look at me. I'm civil. Civil. That's me.
let's see if I'm a fan. See if we're each other's fan at the end of this.
All right.
But I just want to say, we seem to...
Ben Shapiro's whole thing is like triggering the libs. That's his entire like shtick. So him claiming like, oh, let's be civil, that's laughable. The hypocrisy with Ben Shapiro is never ending.
be living in a time
Uh-oh.
utter tribalism. And I think you and I have a few things in common besides we were both uninvited at Berkeley to speak.
I hate that fucking phrase tribalism. Like, yeah, there's a political division in this country. It's because people are becoming more class conscious on the left, and they're becoming more reactionary and bigoted on the right. It's not a tribalism thing that's emerged. This division's always existed. It's just being brought to the forefront now. And to call that tribalism is to break that down into some kind of like petty struggle and to equate both sides as being like just as petty on in that struggle, and that's not true. It's not true, Bill Maher.
But we've been coy about our affiliation. Like, I never really wanted to say I was a Democrat. I always voted Democratic, but they disappointed me a lot. You know, you've been coy about it. You're a Republican, you're a conservative.
Sure.
I think right now, I'm a Democrat. And there's only two teams. And since all the Republicans are now backing Trump, except for the ones who are leaving, but he totally owns that party now. If you're a conservative,
He's
aren't
right
you
about that.
really Team Trump?
Well, it depends on what. So what I've called myself is sometimes Trump. Okay, there.
Oh yeah, you guys, Ben Shapiro, he's sometimes Trump. You know, the guy that sucks Trump's dick constantly and is just Trump's little personal twink. Whenever Trump wants, he'll come on the air, sing his praises. Oh yeah, he's totally sometimes for Trump. He's totally not biased at all.
People have said there's never Trump and then there's always Trump. Sometimes Trump meaning that when he does something that I like, I cheer, and when he does something that I hate, which happens, then I boo. And I'm booing as loudly as you are when he does something that's really bad.
Yeah,
But
bullshit.
Listen, you're very upset about the Supreme
Oh yeah, then you use your platform Daily Wire to denounce Trump on whatever fucking issue you have a problem with. I fucking dare you, Ben.
Court nominee. I am very pleased about the Supreme Court nominee as a conservative. Right? He's doing a lot of things that I like in terms of policy.
All right, he's talking about that rapist pig Brett Kavanaugh who raped that poor lady who had the courage to testify before the hearing, the Supreme Court, the highest office, one of the highest offices in the land, about a very personal issue, very horrible issue that happened to her a long time ago. And this rapist pig, her assaulter, went up on stage and blubbered like a little baby bitch and embarrassed the whole fucking country because he blubbered like a bitch. I like beer. Do you like beer? This is a sham. This is a sham by George Soros. And then the Republicans and the fucking weak bitch-ass Democrats just decided to let him get the Supreme Court nomination. It's disgraceful. And fucking Benny Boy cheered every step of the way.
Now, that doesn't mean that I am cheering his character, because I think that it is very difficult to cheer Donald Trump's character, nor do I think it's appropriate.
Well, what do you like?
Nor do I think it's appropriate. Alright, these are the guys that talk about fucking virtue signaling all the time. But whenever, like, remember when Obama had the fucking Grey Poupon mustard on his sandwich or whatever? They all freaked the fuck out. Like, what do you call that? What do you call all this, like, war on Christmas bullshit? If not virtue signaling, what the fuck is it? And then this guy wants to fucking. This guy has the balls to say, oh, we shouldn't judge a president by his character. Oh, yeah? Well, you fucking. People of his ilk wanted Bill Clinton impeached because he got a blowjob in the White House. They have no problem with a president who's used his campaign money to pay off porn stars that he's had an extramarital affair with. Yeah, the double standard is never ending, and the hypocrisy with Ben Shapiro is never ending either.
Okay, so I like the tax cuts. I like
You
the
like the
movement.
tax cuts? Yeah,
It hurts me, by the way, in California, but
Fuck the tax cuts. You know, they're always doing this trickle down bullshit. It doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. It's never fucking worked. Trickle down economics is a fantasy.
I like it as a general policy.
ladies, he's rich. Okay.
Fuck you, Ben.
Okay. But see, I don't even know what
You
the
smug
Republican
asshole.
beliefs are. I mean, you're a young guy, but you certainly remember 2 years back when beliefs were completely the opposite of what they are now.
Well, which
they were
ones?
for
Which ones?
free trade. They were
No, I agree with you. I agree with
giant deficit hawks.
Yep.
The Tea Party was all about we're going to solve the deficit.
Yep.
But they didn't, did
Well,
they?
the Democrats ain't gonna do it either, so.
I know, but they didn't say they were.
Right.
The Tea Party kept saying, we have got to get this deficit down. This motherfucker has ran up $1 trillion
That's
in
true.
6 months. What about Russia? They used to be the enemy. What about free trade? I mean, how do you turn on a dime so quickly in a couple of years?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's been very frustrating to me to watch so many Republicans do exactly that. I've been incredibly critical of Republicans who have suddenly become fans of Vladimir Putin or have suddenly become fans of tariffs. I think all of that.
But yet, Ben Shapiro is a fan of Trump, who's a fan of Vladimir Putin. So what the fuck, Ben? You know, you're claiming to not be a part of all this, but you're a part of it, buddy. You're in that camp. Sorry, friend. You're in the weird world of being a fucking conservative. And I don't envy you on that because it's a weird oxymoronic world. It's a world of just complete ironies, complete hypocrisies, and I don't envy anybody being in there.
That is idiocy. But again, I think that with regard to judges, with regard to taxes, with regard to Middle Eastern policy.
Middle Eastern policy, I mean, I assume he means pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, fucking that whole thing up. I assume he means, you know, moving the Jerusalem capital from Tel Aviv to the Israeli capital embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, really upsetting the balance between Palestine and Israel. I'm sure, you know, all that shit has helped tremendously, I'm sure.
Particularly Iran and Israel. I'm much more of a fan of President Trump than I certainly would have been of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. And by the way, I didn't vote for President Trump in the last election because of my concerns about him.
Okay, so you would not vote
Good
for
for
a Democrat
you.
under any circumstance or something?
You just shill for him constantly. You shill and apologize for him constantly, but oh, you didn't vote for him. Okay, whatever, Ben. You're a fucking idiot. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to that.
Circumstance.
I mean, I would say some circumstance, but the Democratic Party would have to stop being insane, meaning that they would actually have to approach something like.
Oh, that's some peak logic. The Democratic Party got to stop being insane. Like, all right, I kind of agree. They're kind of insane. They're kind of stupid. They're kind of pathetic. But I don't think me and Ben Shapiro have quite the same criticisms of the Democratic Party.
Like moderation in terms of policy, and also present
Moderation in terms of policy.
Like, all right, what has moderation in terms of policy gotten us with fucking 8 years of Obama? That got us jack shit. That got us mild healthcare reform and a lot of drone strikes. That's what that got us. It got us 8 years of Republicans whining and bitching and threatening to shut the government down and have some kind of stupid Tea Party revolution where all the hillbillies get their guns and they march on Washington just because they didn't want some poor people to have health care. And because a black guy was president. The snowflakes were triggered, ladies and gentlemen. And little Benny boy is in that camp. And he tries to pretend like he's not, but he is, friends.
a face that doesn't look like people shouting down people at gas stations or entering restaurants and trying to throw them out.
Okay, well, if you're talking about
I don't want people to enter restaurants and throw them out.
Well, you know, maybe don't be a hateful fucking bigot and people won't respond that way. You're putting the burden on them, but the initiator of violence was the hateful bigot, the guy spewing out the hate speech. So, fuck you, Ben.
But the civility thing, why don't we start with the Republicans stop saying lock her up?
Yeah.
You don't think that's a worse abridgment of civility?
Or how about when the Republicans fucking call, say there were very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville, or say things like they're sending rapists and criminals, and I assume some are good people, or that they come from shithole countries. These are all things that Trump has said.
I don't think it's.
I mean, and it's not just lock her up. He talked about locking Comey up. He talks about locking journalists up. There's a guy who said lock Tim Kaine up. How about we stop the lock them up? Shouldn't the civility...
How about we lock all the fucking bougie capitalists up? How about that? I'm for that. Who else is with me?
The arguments start there before we care about who gets their entree?
Well, it isn't just about who gets their entree. It's about who gets harassed
But wait,
in public. By the way, I'm not going to make excuses for
But
President
which is
Trump's
more
statements.
important?
Hey guys, Trump supporters are the real victims because they're harassed and occasionally they can't go to a restaurant and eat a sandwich. Poor babies. It's almost as bad as the poor migrants that are suffering and dying of heat stroke and dehydration in the Sonoran Desert. It's almost just as bad as that. I mean, Ben Shapiro, he's oppressed, ladies and gentlemen. He is oppressed and he is censored and silenced by the horrible PC outrage machine of the left. And he's an honest victim.
Well, I think that all of it is important. If you're going to ask me, I think we
But
can
isn't
chew
that
gum and
funded-
walk at the same
isn't
time.
that-
It's all important.
Can we just
but
say
I-
incivility is bad across the board?
Yes, but you can't be a
Why is it that we're only opposed when you're
Okay.
a Democrat? You're only opposed to incivility when it's Donald Trump.
Because-
but suddenly Maxine Waters is anti-Maxine.
Because, Ben, you can't walk into a room and see an elephant and a mouse and not know which one is bigger.
But it's not an elephant and a mouse. It's two
But it
elephants.
is, really?
Alright, all this whining about civility, I don't give a flying fuck about civility. We're past the point of civility. When there's Nazis going down the street, and when your president's such a chode like Donald Trump, and when you have little twerps like Ben Shapiro on TV, we've passed the fucking point of civility. When Ben Shapiro says stuff like they live in sewage and like to bomb buildings, that is past the point of civility. Shapiro passed that point a long fucking time ago, and for him to come up here and say we need to be civil, that's bullshit. And Shapiro deserves every ounce of harassment he receives because he's a fucking bully and he's a fucking bigot, and he needs to not have such a large public platform.
Yes.
Threatening to lock...
The facts don't care about his feelings, alright? He got his little fifis hurt, he's got his little snowflake feelings hurt, he wants to feel like a victim, he wants to feel like he's really the oppressed person while he goes around and literally incites violence towards oppressed and marginalized groups. Fuck you, Ben Shapiro.
I needed 600 officers to protect me at Berkeley. Yes,
Oh,
it's an elephant
boo-hoo.
and an elephant. Yes, it's an elephant.
He had 600 officers to protect me at Berkeley.
What, are you such a pussy you don't want to try to take them on yourself, Ben?
It's an elephant.
Okay,
When Joe
but that-
Biden in
but
2012
that's
said
600
to Mitt Romney
officers to
that he's gonna
protect
put you all
you?
back in chains about black people. Listen,
You think Marxist speakers get 600 officers to protect them? They probably get 600 officers to fucking put their boots in their face. Ben Shapiro over here flaunting his fucking privilege, acting like he's such a victim. What a little baby boy.
stuff pre-existed Donald
Okay,
Trump.
but that
Donald Trump is
didn't,
terrible
but that
on
didn't
this.
come from the president at Berkeley.
It came from the vice president when he was saying that Mitt Romney, the cleanest person ever, okay, was a guy who was going to put y'all back in chains.
Binders full of women.
To pretend incivility started with Donald Trump.
No, not
is to
incivility, but I'm
fictionalize
talking
it in
about the
past.
level to which it's at, where you're threatening.
agree with you.
Do you really think Donald Trump respects the rule of law? I mean, if somebody
No,
like...
but I think the Constitution itself is a pretty damn durable document, thank God.
I've read your tweets like about Kamala
Okay.
Harris.
Yeah.
Now, I have...
Like, once again, Ben Shapiro is just a completely contradictory person. Like, he is acting like he doesn't support Donald Trump, but yet he supports, like, almost every fucking thing Donald Trump does.
some problems with
He's
her,
one of
too.
his biggest
But you would vote
cheerleaders.
for Trump over her.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Okay, so the reason I'd vote for Trump over her is because I agree with him a lot more on policy, and I actually believe a lot of the damage that he has done to the country in terms of social fabric has already occurred. So I said I didn't vote for him in 2016. The reason I didn't vote for him in 2016 is because I feared
It's already occurred, so I mean, who's he blaming that on? Is it the Republicans or is it the Democrats to blame for that? I mean, Ben Shapiro always tries to put the blame on the Democrats, so I assume he's going to blame the Democrats for the current instability. He just doesn't want to say that on TV because he knows it's bullshit and he knows everyone will call him out on it, but he wants to, subtly imply that.
The damage he would do to the social fabric, and I also didn't think he was going to govern conservative because I didn't see a lot of indicators of that. He's governed a lot more conservative than I thought he was going to. And as far as the damage to the social fabric, if he's already done it, I'm not actually mitigating against the damage to the social fabric by not voting for him in 2020.
Can I read
What?
Here's something like.
So I'm not going to mitigate against the damage of the social fabric by voting against him in 2020. First of all, I thought he said he didn't vote for Trump. I guess he did after all. I don't know. Maybe he's going to in 2020. If he had such big policy disagreements, then why the fuck is he still voting for him in 2020? Ben is just a total shill for Donald Trump. He's a total shill for the right and the alt-right. He claims that he's not a part of all that, but he very clearly is. It's just a way for him to gain a legitimacy in the MSM. But Ben Shapiro very obviously is a gateway towards extremism. He inspired the Quebec mass shooting.
Where we sort of agree.
Very Islamophobic.
Okay.
This is Kamala Harris tweeted, "Children are our nation's future. We must listen to them about what they care about and give them a voice in our government." And you wrote, "Ridiculous." I'm with you. They're children. They don't get a voice. And I think I know what she meant, but it's poorly worded.
All right, fuck you, Bill Maher. First of all, Bill Maher talks all this shit about millennials and how we're a bunch of crybaby snowflakes that need to go sit in our safe space. And, to that I want to say, fuck you, Bill Maher. You're a rich ass hat. You've got no idea what it's like to be a college student who has to go into a tremendous shit ton of debt just to get through school, just so maybe you can get a job that hasn't been taken over yet or automated yet or shipped abroad. And then once you get that job, you have to work your fucking ass off, much, much harder than Bill Maher probably had to do and his generation had to do in order to make a living, in order to pay your rent. And then, to make matters worse, healthcare costs fucking expensive, education fucking expensive, cost of living expensive, rent expensive. It's all fucking expensive. And while cost of living has skyrocketed, wages have remained stagnant for the past 30-something years. So yeah, Bill Maher, to say that it's time to give the kids a voice, it's fucking time. It's time for the baby boomers to just shut the fuck up and let the millennial generation finally have their day in the sun. It's our turn, damn it. Move aside, you old coots.
And you wrote,
"It's a
"Children should not
youngins'
have a voice
world."
in our government, they're children." And you're right, this is where the left drives me crazy. But then you wrote about children, "They are also
Fuck you, Bill
incapable
Maher.
of fully rational thought, thoroughly uncivilized, and completely driven by immediate emotional response." I can't think of
I know where
a
you're going here.
more perfect description of Donald Trump. So when you wrote that,
Oh, Bill Maher owned Ben Shapiro 2020. Oh, clap, clap, clap emoji, clap emoji. Yeah, fuck off, Bill Maher. All of this faux hashtag-resistance to Donald Trump, it's really pathetic. And it's really disgusting to see Bill Maher having folks like Ben Shapiro on his show. I see here he has fucking Jordan Peterson on his show, so maybe next time we'll talk to him. Jesus Christ, he's also had Steve Bannon. How many fucking alt-right chuds has Bill Maher had on his fucking show? Jesus, Bill Maher. But yeah, you see how he shits on young people all the time? Fuck you, Bill Maher, and fuck Ben Shapiro. This is just liberal bullshit, and I'm so sick of it. It's disgusting to even watch.